Welcome everyone to our family support series about prepping for orientation. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our family support series. My name is Karen Araya Perez. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the family coordinator for family programs and will be tonight's monitor. I'm going to pass it over to the rest of the family team at our office to introduce themselves before we go into the logistics of the webinar tonight.
Good evening, families and supporters. My name is Camille Clark. I am the Associate Director of Family Programs in the Office of New Student and Family Programs.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Nelson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of Family Programs in NSFP. And I'll pass it to Brian.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Daniels. I use he or him pronouns, and I am the family orientation intern for this summer.
So tonight we are joined by Jessie from our own office at the New Student and Family Programs Office to discuss orientation and what to expect. They will answer pre-written questions as well as questions that you may all have. Tonight, while our panelist is speaking, feel free to use the Q&A button, not the chat button, at the bottom of your screen to ask a question. The chat button will be used to show you all what questions we are asking the panelists. We'll also have live transcripts, closed captioning for those who may need it, and the session will be recorded and posted to our website and YouTube channel. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Jessie to tell you a little bit more about the orientation and how to best prepare for our New Student Family Programs office at JMU.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening. I hope that everyone has been having a great week so far. Like Karen said, my name is Jessie. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Associate Director of Orientation here in New Student and Family Programs. I'm so excited to tell you all a little bit more about what it's like to prepare for summer orientation and what our orientation process looks like, and to get you all excited to hopefully join us this summer. All right, so let me get my slides going here. All right, so before we begin, I want to give you all an introduction of some folks that you might see this summer who also are a part of our New Student and Family Programs team. And so you can see myself there as the Associate Director of Orientation. We also have Casey Veit, who serves as an Assistant Director of Orientation, and Marshall Edney, who serves as the Assistant Director of Orientation, along with our Family Programs team, Camille, Mackenzie, and Brian, who all serve on the Family Programs team and make sure that orientation also has a great family orientation component to it as well. All right. So I wanted to start off tonight by telling you all about what the orientation journey looks like for our students. So for every single student coming into George Mason University for the fall 2026 semester, this is the journey that they will see as a new student. So this not only involves our freshman students, but also our transfer students, our Mason Online students, our international students. So anybody who is starting in their first semester in the fall 2026 semester will go through an orientation process. Our first piece that we have here, they will start with the pre-orientation checklist and Patriot Preview modules. I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. Our pre-orientation checklist includes information that students will need to complete before they come to orientation so that they can make sure that they are set up for success. And we'll walk through what that looks like in just a little bit. Whilst completing this checklist, one of those steps is to register for orientation. Again, orientation is a process that takes place over the summer to help your students as well as you all transition to the George Mason community, as well as to prepare your students for their courses as well. So after registering for orientation, they will then attend orientation. Our orientation process consists of two parts: the on-campus orientation process, as well as the virtual advising and registration process. It's listed in this order because for most of our students coming in, they will attend on-campus orientation first and then their virtual advising and registration session. This can be done by registering for orientation. You must select an on-campus orientation date before being able to select a virtual advising and registration date. And so they'll be able to select in the order of the on-campus first and then virtual advising and registration. There is an asterisk here over by on-campus orientation because that is where you all come in. As family supporters, guests, anybody who is supporting your students' experience at George Mason, you all are invited to attend the on-campus experience with them and engage in your own supporter orientation alongside them throughout the day. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like and what that schedule is in just a moment. One caveat that we want to note here, the virtual advising and registration session is only for the students. So due to our FERPA laws, as well as our opportunity to make sure that our students are taking some initiative and making sure that they are able to select their courses and talk to their advisors one-on-one, the virtual advising and registration space will only be for the students. All right, so post-orientation, we will have the post-orientation checklist. We also will have some opportunities to attend a preamble and welcome to Mason, which are programs that happen at the start of the semester. And so preamble will take place starting before classes in the couple of days before classes on August 24th, I believe. And that'll help your students prepare for the semester. And then Welcome to Mason will be events that take place in the first few weeks of the semester so that they understand that there is a community for them and to get them engaged with the community here at George Mason. So overall, this is just kind of our large, big picture view of what your students are attending and going through when it comes to their orientation journey and their transition to George Mason. So family and supporter orientation, what does that look like and how can you sign up for it? So one thing I wanted to note here is that you can register for family and supporter orientation on your student's registration form. There is not a separate registration form for orientation for you all as families and supporters. When a student is filling out their registration form, they can add a guest at the bottom of the form, and that will be your opportunity to register for attending our family and supporter orientation on the same day. There is a fee for each guest. This fee will cover the breakfast, lunch, and dinner that is covered through the orientation day, along with some additional swag items and other opportunities that you get throughout your attendance at orientation. There is no fee associated necessarily with attending orientation for your students, however. There is a note in the registration form that does list a new student fee. That is a fee that all incoming new students pay, not only to cover their orientation fee, but also all student activities and programs that take place within their first year. That is a non-refundable, non-waivable fee, and that will be included in the first bill after the first day of classes. And so that will be due on the first day of classes, will come with the first billing. It will not be something that you all will pay or your student will pay at the time of registering for orientation. Whereas the fee for the guests will be specifically for the orientation program, and that will be listed on the registration form, and you can complete your payment as the student completes the submission. The the fee for each guest is going to be $60 for an adult and $25 for a child. There is a maximum of up to 2 adult and 2 child guests per student attending orientation. However, that being said, we do offer some walk-in registrations. If you're not sure if you would like to attend, or if you have a third guest that you would like, there will be some walk-in registration available on site if you need it. Our family and supporter orientation program runs concurrently with the student program. So as I've mentioned previously, the date that your student selects for their on-campus orientation date will be the date that you as a family supporter or guest will attend. And any supporter or guest will begin the day together with their student and then end the day together as well. But we'll have some separate family-specific sessions during the middle of the day. All right, so why should you attend? What will you get out of that experience and what will you be doing that day? So a couple of reasons why you might think about wanting to attend summer orientation. Number one, being our campus. It is your opportunity to get to know our campus, which is beautiful. All of our buildings that you will be seeing, you will get a chance to see the buildings that our students might be taking classes in, might be engaging in community building activities in. The summer is a great time to see campus because it's not as busy as in the semesters. And it will be a great opportunity for you to get to know what the campus looks like without the crowds of the fall semester when classes begin. Number two is to learn about campus resources. So this will be an opportunity, as we mentioned, there will be separate family specific orientation sessions in the afternoon. This will be your opportunity to get to talk about housing, to get to talk to financial aid, to get to talk to our undergraduate education office, different members of our academic experience that your students might be having, all kinds of opportunities to connect with so many different campus resources on campus that your student might be engaging with maybe within their first year or maybe in their third year, whatever it might be. It's going to set you up for success for supporting your students as they continue their journey within George Mason. Number three, we have a community. So you will be able to meet with other families, members, and supporters. Each orientation session will consist of between about 200 to 300 family members and supporters who will be attending with different students and our student participants. And so this will be your opportunity to get to know a little bit more about the community of family members and supporters at George Mason, to connect with our staff members within our family programs team. You might meet somebody who has a student who may share an interest with your student, or maybe is studying the same thing as your student, and build a community in that way. It's a really great way for you to get to know that there are other people who are going through the same thing as you, and are supporting students who are going through the same thing as you. And so hopefully you will get to do that at orientation. Student support. You'll also get to experience what your student support systems will look like. We not only will have the opportunity for you to connect with the campus resources themselves, but they'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what community your students will have throughout their time here at George Mason. It's a really great way for you to ask your questions, get your questions answered, and be able to see where and who will be able to help your students out if and when they might encounter an issue or need some support. I touched on this just now. Another reason that you can attend is to get your questions answered by faculty, staff, and current students. We'll talk about what Patriot Leaders are in just a moment, but we will have plenty of our current faculty, our current staff, and our current students attending orientation to help you throughout your day and to be able to answer questions that you might have. Even if it's a very specific question that you have for your specific situation or for your specific student, this is a great way to be able to talk to somebody one-on-one and to get those questions answered. And then finally, and certainly not least, our swag. You can show your Patriot pride. All of our guests will receive a Mason tote bag, lanyard, a family calendar, and many, many, many more Mason swag items. If you haven't quite built up your swag collection for George Mason yet, orientation is a great, great opportunity to do so. All right, so what can you expect when you actually arrive? So I'm going to walk you through a general view of what the schedule will look like for all of our families and supporters attending orientation. The day will begin at 8:30 a.m. with check-in at Buchanan Hall and a green and gold showcase in which all of our family and student participants can meet with campus resources and enjoy a light breakfast. So that will take place between 8:30 and 9:30. For those of you attending, we really do recommend that you try to arrive prior to 9 a.m. so that you have enough time to grab that breakfast and engage with the campus resources before our program formally begins around 9:30. So at 9:30, we will have some opening presentations. We will begin together. All of our student and family participants will begin in the same concert hall and hear from our undergraduate education office, hear from our financial aid and student accounts office, as well as get to know our Patriot Leaders, which are our current student orientation leaders. At 11:30, there will be a split family schedule. So families will go with family members and guests and supporters, and then our students will go with our students and our Patriot Leaders. They will head off to lunch, and you all will hear from different campus presentations. You all as family members will have the opportunity to engage in some housing tours, so get to see an on-campus housing space, as well as get to hear from our lovely family programs team about what family support looks like here at George Mason. Towards the end of the day, our supporters and guests will be able to reconvene with students to attend housing presentations, our campus essentials panel, as well as choose your own adventure style presentations. So this will be kind of conference style where you all can choose the presentations that you would like to attend based on some lingering questions that you might have or topics that you want to know more about. You all can split, divide and conquer those topics with your students. You can attend those together, whatever you would like. That is the time that we will be reconvening with our students. We will then end the day with some dinner. Dinner will take place around 5:45 and will last around 6:30. And within that time, we will also be dismissing for some optional campus and housing tours. As you can see, we will have housing tours available for family members earlier in the day, but housing tours will not be available for students until the end of the day as optional tours. We will also have an optional campus tour at the end of the day as well. We do this because it's a little bit cooler in the summer when we get into the evenings. And so we hope that you are able to join us for those campus and housing tours if you would like. All right, so where can you find the schedule aside from just here in this presentation? Your schedule at a glance of our orientation schedule can be found on our website at orientation.gmu.edu. This is what our website looks like. I'm just going to quickly head over there real quick so that I can show you all. This is our family orientation website. Here you'll be able to view some information about Mason families, our Mason orientation checklist, and then down here, you'll be able to click on a schedule at a glance. And so you'll be able to see that and access that should you need it at any point. All righty. So our Patriot Leaders, as I've mentioned, the Patriot Leaders are current students who serve as orientation leaders for all of our students and families coming in. We have a lovely group of our student Patriot Leaders who will lead your students throughout the orientation day, meet them in small groups, get to know them a little bit better, walk them through some of our traditions, and answer questions as current students who have experienced what it's like to be a new student here at George Mason. We also have a lovely group of our family Patriot Leaders. So our family Patriot Leaders will be a group of a few Patriot Leaders, again, who are current students who will be helping you all throughout your orientation experience and staying with you and getting to share a little bit about the current student experience throughout the orientation day. So there will be 4 family Patriot Leaders along with Karen, our student family coordinator, who will be kind of with you all, able to answer questions. If you want to know a little bit more about what it's like to actually be a student at George Mason, they are going to be a wonderful resource for you. And we hope that you get a chance to meet them this summer. All right, I want to move into a couple of tips for success at orientation. The first being the pre-orientation checklist that your students will be completing prior to coming to orientation. So I wanted to tell you all about this because a big part of being a supporter and being a family member who is going to be attending orientation or maybe supporting your student through their orientation process, it's really important that your students are able to walk through this and have some of their systems set up so that they can be successful at orientation as well. So this is our pre-orientation checklist for our students. The first step is to set up their systems. So this includes their Patriot Pass, which is their opportunity to actually log into all of their systems here on campus. This includes our systems such as Patriot Web, which is their registration portal for them to select their courses, as well as Mason 360, which is their portal to get to know a little bit more about student organizations on campus or get involved in clubs and events on campus. And this will also be their login opportunity and credentials for their George Mason email. The reason why we emphasize this so much is that a lot of our communications for our new students, while they might begin in the personal email for when you are applying to the university, they will soon move to the George Mason email for information about how to transition to the university and begin your first semester. And so it's really important that we encourage our students to log into their George Mason email as soon as that is as soon as they have paid the deposit and intend to enroll at George Mason University so that they are staying on top of the communications shared by the university itself. Our second step is to prepare for orientation. This includes the step, as I've mentioned previously, of registering for orientation. Our students will be required to complete our Patriot Preview modules, which are a set of online modules within a separate system that tell them a little bit more about the campus resources that are available here at George Mason. And then we also encourage all of our students to connect with Mason to download the Mason 360 app, as we talked about, which includes information about registered student organizations, as well as campus involvement, clubs, activities, events, all the things that students can do on campus. We also encourage our students to submit required materials. So this will include their Mason ID photos. Once they have their Mason ID photo, they can set up their Mason ID. All of our Mason IDs will begin as a Mason mobile ID. For many of our students, that is the easiest and most convenient way for them to have a Mason ID. And that is where they will start. If they need a physical ID, they can connect with the Mason card office while at orientation. They will be required to submit their immunization records by completing the immunization certificate. And they can do that on the Student Health Services Immunizations website. We will encourage students to access their financial aid package, accept any packages, any scholarships that might be included there, or to review that and ask for support if you need it. And then, of course, to submit final transcripts to the registrar's office and scores. We also then would encourage our students to prepare and register for courses. One way to do that and one way to ensure that students are doing that is to make sure that they are taking their math placement test or a foreign language placement test if they are engaging in any math classes or any foreign language courses. There is an opportunity for students to take math placement testing on site when they come to orientation. That being said, many students choose not to because it's already a long day and they're receiving a lot of information. Our math testing center is open all summer long from Monday through Saturday, and their hours will be listed on their website for any students looking to take their math placement test. We highly encourage that they do that prior to coming to orientation so that they are prepared to ask questions about specific courses if they need it. And then a final note, our transfer students. So if you are a supporter of a transfer students do have the opportunity to engage in some pre-orientation advising. This is optional and a little bit different depending on the majors that your student is. Different majors offer different pre-orientation advising opportunities for our transfer students and may be able to be advised and get registered a little earlier. So that is our pre-orientation checklist for our students, but we also have a pre-orientation checklist for you all as families and guests. So all of this is kind of encompassed in the overall student pre-orientation checklist, but our first step on the family orientation checklist is to let your student take the lead. You can help ensure that your student has paid their enrollment deposit, set up their Patriot Pass, logged into their GMU email. But those are all steps that your student should be taking and that you can support your students taking so that they are aware of the steps that they need to take in order to transition to George Mason. The second step of the checklist will be to register for orientation. As we mentioned, guests will be directly added to the student's registration form with the guest fee of $60 for adults and $25 for children 12 and under. And again, with a max of 2 adult and 2 child guests with walk-ins available. Another step that is new for our families and supporters this year is to complete the pre-orientation Patriot Preview modules, as I've mentioned previously. So this is not required for all of our incoming families and supporters, but it is a great way to get to know campus resources. So if you go to patriotpreview.gmu.edu, you can log in as a guest to see all of the information that our students are receiving. This can include information from all walks of campus, not only about living on campus, but also about being on campus, getting involved on campus, different policies on campus, a lot of things that will help prepare you for questions that you might have at orientation. And then finally, of course, to join the Mason Family Connection. There is the Mason Family Connection. If you don't know about it already, hopefully you all being in this space, you do know a little bit more about what Mason Family Connection looks like, but there is also the Orientation Hub within Mason Family Connection, which is that primary communication portal for families at George Mason. From here, you can also receive newsletters, register for events, and stay up to date with all things George Mason. And now is a great time to do that so that you can feel prepared for your orientation session. All right, going into a little bit of hotel partnerships and other logistics for attending orientation. So orientation day is a 1-day schedule. However, with it being a full day from 8:30 to about 6:45 p.m., some of you all may choose to stay in the area if you are not local. For those, we do have certain hotel partnerships that have some discount codes and blocks for the summer. All of that information can be found on the Where to Stay website on the Mason Family website. You can see the relatively short website link here on the screen, and you will find this type of table. You can hear from there, be able to see your the locations for some of these hotels, and then some other links for booking online to receive that discount code and what codes to use. With these hotels, we also wanted to talk a little bit about transportation. So all orientation participants will park on campus in Lot K, and instructions for registering your car for free parking will be sent in our reminder and preparation emails. So those will all go to the students, and you can do that on site. We do ask that you try to do it prior to so that you don't forget with the chaos and hullabaloo of being on campus. With that being said, again, you can register your car once you arrive on campus. The free parking for the orientation day will only be for the orientation day. So we do make sure that you all are aware of that. This will not count for free parking on any other days. That being said, our campus is also accessible via the Metro bus and the Q bus, which is the Fairfax City bus. Mason is also located near the Vienna Fairfax GMU Metro stop on the Orange Line, and Mason provides regular shuttles from the Metro stop to campus. From our hotels, however, from our select hotels, we also will have some Lyft options. So something new that we are starting since last summer is some discount codes that you all can use in the Lyft rideshare app to be able to receive some credit to for your transportation to and from campus on the day of orientation. There will be specific discount codes that are shared from the hotel directly if you choose to stay at those locations, and that those two locations will be the Courtyard Fairfax and the Residence Inn in Fairfax City. Those will be indicated on the website as well, and they will be able to share those discount codes with you on site if you stay at those specific hotels. The discount codes should cover the entire ride to and from orientation. And so hopefully you all will get an opportunity to utilize those Lyft codes if you are staying in those hotels. Finally, we also will have shuttles to Lot K if you are driving to campus and you are coming to our program. There will be shuttles available for you to get from Lot K to our check-in. From our orientation location to Lot K at the end of the day from 4:30 to 8 p.m. And all of our student participants and family members will be able to utilize those shuttles to get back to their cars at the end of the day. All right, I know I might have seen a couple of questions and comments in the Q&A around accessibility. And so we wanted to talk to you all a little bit about what accessibility looks like for our participants as well as for our students. So when registering for orientation, you or your student may list any accommodations that you may need during your on-campus experience. The different categories that we have within our accommodations registration form is mobility, dietary, academic, and any need for sign language interpreters. If you have any other accommodations that you need, though, you also can indicate that in other accommodations, and we will do our best to provide them as best as possible. One thing we do want to note, though, that when you are indicating these accommodations on the registration form, they are only applied to our orientation program. All of our students are advised to additionally register with Disability Services if it is an accommodation needed for the rest of the academic year, using the link in those email communications or on the Disability Services website, as that will help to receive accommodations throughout the academic year, especially for those students requiring academic accommodations. It will be really, really important that the students are getting in those requests for accommodations early on so that they can be reviewed by the Disability Services Office and can be determined what they are for the students. And then finally, if you do require accessible parking on campus, you will need to bring your personal hang tag in your vehicle. If you do have a personal hang tag for accessible parking, that will count on campus. And there will be a number of spots all around campus that will be available for your parking. The closest location will be in front of the Mason Pond parking deck or in any other designated accessible parking spots on campus. And on the screen, you can see here the QR code to our transportation office, which will have some maps for parking. and then our disability services office here up top. You can also email them and talk to them directly at ods@gmu.edu or to our parking and transportation service at transpo@gmu.edu. We also want to mention that there will be an opportunity if you do have mobility concerns or accommodations needed throughout the orientation day. There will be something called Patriot Lift. Patriot Lift is a golf cart service that is available for our students throughout the academic year. But during orientation days, we will be able to utilize it for any students and or guests who might need mobility accommodations to get to and from different locations on campus while attending orientation. And so if you have a need for that golf cart transportation during your on-campus day, we do ask that you please indicate that into the registration form. You can ask for it. Let's say, day before orientation, you sprain an ankle and you might need that. We can totally make that happen on the day of. We just want to make sure that we are able to prepare for it ahead of time if that is something that you all know ahead of time as well. All right. And as I kind of wrap up my information here and kind of go into the Q&A, we want to make sure that you all are aware of where to find certain family orientation resources. So 2 screenshots here. The first being that Mason Family's family orientation website, as I previously referenced. I'm going to go ahead and show you all that you can find that by going to orientation.gmu.edu/Mason-family-orientation. If you go into Google and just type family orientation GMU, you can also find it. It will be the first link in our Google search. Here, again, you can find your information about the orientation checklist, logging into Patriot Preview, which I will show you in just a moment, the link to join Mason Family Connection, as well as the schedule at a glance. You can also click on the Where to Stay website. As I mentioned previously, this will show you information about the hotel partnerships. And you can review some additional first-year resources that students will receive, such as a glossary of Mason terms and other new student resources like info, checklists, their Patriot Web, their Mason email, Mason 360, all of the systems and resources that your student will be utilizing throughout their time at George Mason. As I mentioned many times, the Patriot Preview online modules are also available for your use. If you click on Login to Patriot Preview, that will take you to this page where it says Welcome to Patriot Preview. You can click on Guest Login and you can create a new guest account right here. And this will take you into the system to be able to view our modules, get to know a little bit more about the resources offered on campus. All righty. Phew, I think that covers a lot of what are tips and tricks and reasons why you should attend. Thank you so much for your time and attention. We hope to see you at orientation.
Thank you so much, Jesse, for your knowledge and expertise on student on campus and for everything orientation. We're going to head into the Q&A session. And as a reminder for our participants, please place all questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen so that you are able to ask your questions. Okay, before we get into questions for Jesse, I do have a question for Mackenzie and Camille, which is families are going to get a lot of information during orientation. Is there a one-stop shop for families to see this information before orientation?
There absolutely is. In Mason Family Connection, it is called the Orientation Hub. So in this hub, you will have everything you need to prepare for orientation, as well as information about the various resources and services we provide for students at Mason. So highly, highly recommend visiting the Orientation Hub. There's a lot of good information in there. We will be sending spotlights all summer long that include information for you. So it is a very helpful resource. Mackenzie, feel free to add any information additionally if I'm missing anything.
No additional information, but I will link to our website where if you haven't made your Mason Family Connection account to access the Orientation Hub, I will send that to the entire group so you can have that link for later today.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. For Jesse, how does attending family orientation help parents and supporters best support their students?
That is a great question. So something that I like to quote when it comes to, what it's like to support your students is that, excuse me, my earbud is falling out here. Is that, all of these resources. We have so many resources here on campus. Our students will be inundated with all of these resources that they get here and transition to campus. With that being said, it can be really difficult to remember all of these different pieces. We do our best in orientation to be able to provide opportunities for you all to see, what might be a situation or what might be a way, or a common issue that students might be seeing throughout their first year, throughout their second year, throughout their third year. Some of these resources might not come into play until maybe their second or third year, but you all being able to know a little bit more about what these resources are might spark a question or might spark an idea later on down the line. So let's say a student is, in their second semester and not sure where to go to get some tutoring support if they're struggling with their courses. If you're at family orientation and you hear a little bit more about what those tutoring services are, you can help your student to remember that those resources exist for them, and to encourage them to continue to utilize those resources to support their own experience at George Mason. So while you might not be able to be that tutoring for those students, or while you might not be able to necessarily go and engage with those resources themselves, you are a great line of support for your students to be able to help them remember and engage and encourage them to engage with some of these resources so that it can help support their success at George Mason.
I completely agree. I have friends who have just been very held up by their parents and supporters who attend orientation and are able to support them as well. You've been doing orientation for quite a bit. What is your favorite part of the orientation season?
Oh, that is a great question. My favorite part of the orientation, kind of as I mentioned earlier, is that the summer is really for orientation. So we get to see a campus that is much quieter than we typically do throughout the fall semester. It really gives the students an opportunity to get to know campus. And so to be able to see our students kind of have the run of campus, get to see what that looks like, engage in those one-on-one conversations with different academic resources, different campus community resources. It really is a magical time for them to kind of see what support systems are there. But I also really want to highlight kind of our Patriot leaders and what we get to see. Seeing students find like students, both within the Patriot leaders as well as with each other at orientation, is really a great opportunity for our students to get to engage and find friends before they get here, find people who are studying the same things that they are before they get here, maybe find an opportunity to get to know someone studying something completely different who they never would have met if they didn't get to come to orientation. And so really getting to see all of the students build community with each other is a great thing that we get to witness as orientation staff.
As a student, I remember my orientation, and I remember how helpful it was to be able to locate buildings. I remember looking for what classes I need to do. That was incredibly helpful because first day is packed with students. For your next question, I know you touched on this briefly, but just to remind our viewers, if a student has already registered for orientation, are the families/supporters still able to register on site?
Absolutely. So there are two ways to do that. If you have not yet reached your maximum amount of guests, your student can log right back into their registration form and add a guest directly into the form, pay for you, and be able to make sure that you are a part of our, planning, get a name tag printed, all of those pieces before you come to orientation. That being said, for any students who may choose to bring a guest later on, or if you're not sure if you're going to attend just yet, there will be walk-ins available, and all of our guests will be served if they are walking in for the orientation session. And so all you need to do is come with your student. There will be a payment on site that will be processed, and you can attend orientation along with your student on the day of.
And this is a question from the chat. Is orientation a good way to get to know other students and possibly even ones who share similar majors?
Absolutely. So our students will be placed into small groups with the Patriot leaders. So these will be groups of about 20 to 30 students, depending on the day. And they will often be grouped by the academic college. Sometimes there won't be maybe more than 10 students who are within that specific academic college that day. So they might meet a couple other students who are outside of their academic college, but our students will be grouped by their academic colleges. So they'll be able to meet students who are studying similar things as them. And then there will also be the opportunity for them to connect with each other when they go to these choose your own adventure experiences in the afternoons. This will be an opportunity for everybody who's attending to kind of, again, choose the topic that they want to learn more about. And those are another great opportunity for them to get to know students who are maybe interested in the same things in some of those presentations as well.
For a lot of families, this might be their first student going to college. So a lot of people want to know just where to start. How can students and families take advantage of orientation to get them on the right foot to start off the semester?
Absolutely. As I kind of mentioned previously, there is a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of time dedicated to explaining these resources. A good place to start is to just dive right in. Obviously, there will be so many things that we will cover at orientation that we'll cover in some of our pre-orientation modules and resources. It's hard to know all of those pieces right away. And so a good place to start is to just get an understanding of generally what's available here at George Mason and start to dig in a little bit to the things that stand out to you as a family and supporter or as something that might interest your student. Um, all of our campus resources on campus have great opportunities for you to connect with the staff of that office. And so all of them have emails. Some of them will have office hours, will have phone numbers that you can call to ask them specific questions. And if maybe that's not the space for you to ask those questions, you'll be able to be directed to the place where those questions can get answered. But with all of that being said, we know that that can get confusing and that can get overwhelming at times. And so, again, another great place to start will be that orientation hub within Mason Family Connection, so that you can have a centralized place to go to get to know a little bit more information about that.
Wonderful. In regards to the virtual advising and registration, which is only for students, how can a parent or family member best support their students? Maybe the student's a minor and the parent is worried about them making decisions for registering for classes, or just parents want to make sure their students are getting off on the right foot for registering for classes.
Absolutely. And I think that is a really great question. So, our kind of philosophy around what the virtual advising and registration space will look like for our students is that, this is your first step for the students to take ownership of their academics and their classes that they will be taking throughout their entire time at George Mason. That being said, they are not alone in that process. All of our virtual advising and registration sessions will not only have academic advisors from that specific college to sit one-on-one or in small groups with your students to be able to walk them through the actual courses, what their pathway is, what their major interests are. But they will also have our Patriot leaders within those sessions. So current students who can walk them through navigating the actual portal. And so getting to know the online system. And so they'll be able to see, if there are registration specifics around, let's say you need to choose a classroom location that is close to the next class that you're trying to take. Our Patriot leaders are really great at spotting those pieces and helping your student out with making sure that they are choosing the courses that are right for them and that might be the right schedule for them when it comes to some of those logistics. As far as choosing the right courses for their pathway, for their major, our academic advisors are very well versed and will be helping your students one-on-one to be able to show them what courses they need to take for the majors that they are intending to do. If maybe they are interested in some courses that may not be in the pathway of their major or maybe leading them to the wrong direction, they will be the first to be able to tell your student about that, give them some instructions, give them other options so that they can register for the courses that make the most sense for them academically.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the response. We have a few questions about students, guests who have students in the Honors College. How does orientation work for them? Are there opportunities for the students who are already in the Honors College to learn a little bit more? If there are specific orientations they should attend regarding Honors College, or if they're not?
Absolutely. So for all of our students within specific populations like the Honors College, or maybe if you are an international student, there are specific dates that are set aside for our Honors College students. So those will be indicated on the registration form when you go to sign in and register for orientation. They do have a cap. And so if you are not seeing one of those dates, it's likely because that capacity has already been reached. There are 2 Honors College specific on-campus orientation dates available throughout the summer, and you can select either one of them. That being said, if you are not available for those specific dates, The only difference within those honors college dates is that they will get to meet other honors college students, and there will be an optional opportunity for you to engage with honors college staff on the day of. There won't be too many major differences within the schedule. And so if you as a family or your student is not able to attend those specific honors college dates, you can always reach out to our office via email or by calling, and we are more than welcome, more than happy to get you overridden into a different session so that you are able to come to our on-campus orientation program.
Wonderful. I know that for myself and many other students, changing majors is a large thing that just happens during university as you find yourself. Some attendees have students already are interested in changing majors. At what point will they be able to explore that? Is this during the virtual advising and registration or during in-person orientation? What does that look like? Would be best.
Yes, absolutely. So we know that, you all, your students might have indicated a specific major within their application and may be interested in changing. I think there are two components to that. The first being within their academic college. So if a student is interested in switching a major within their overall discipline of study, so for example, if they are within the College of Science, they are interested in majoring in chemistry, but thinking back on it, they want to major in biology. That is a pretty easy switch. We do ask the question of what is your major and do you anticipate wanting to change your major in the orientation registration form. Something important to indicate here is that this does not change your major officially with the university. So during the on-campus orientation and the virtual advising registration day, students won't necessarily be bound to the major that they applied with. If they are interested in changing their major, they can go to a different session during the academic college session so that they are able to hear from the major that they are intending to switch into. There are a couple of caveats that do make that more difficult. Number one being the undeclared College of Engineering and Computing. So if you are in the College of Engineering and Computing as an undeclared student, or you're wanting to switch into the College of Engineering and Computing, there are a number of different college, CEC is what we call our College of Engineering and Computing. There are many, many students within that specific college. And so being able to see a staff member can get a little bit difficult if those switches are happening last minute. A set of advisors that we have to help navigate some of those changes last minute, however, is going to be available for all of our on-campus and virtual advising registration sessions, and that is called our exploratory advising office. And so exploratory is exactly how it sounds. If you are exploring your major, you're not sure where you want to go, or you're thinking about switching your major to something else, we will encourage students to attend the exploratory session so that they can connect with those advisors, understand what it looks like to actually change their majors, and then that they can help them actually navigate that process and declare a different major if they would like. The other piece that does get difficult is if you are interested in a performing arts major or any other visual arts major. So that is within the College of Visual and Performing Arts. Some of those majors do require a portfolio or an audition process that is currently already over for the fall semester. And so there are no additional changes that are available within the College of Visual and Performing Arts at this time and throughout orientation. And so if you are interested in switching majors into the College of Visual and Performing Arts and kind of declaring, let's say, a theater major, a music major, those do require auditions, and students will have to wait until the next opportunity, I believe, in the spring to be able to transfer into that college and major.
Wonderful. We have some questions about student ID photos because this is a process that has changed a little bit recently. So for the ID photos, do the students submit a photo online or do they get the photo taken at GMU?
So the short answer is both. Or either or. We do encourage our students to submit their photos online prior to coming to orientation, mainly because taking their photo on campus is a quick and easy way. However, there will be a line. And so you might miss the opportunity to grab some breakfast or to connect with some campus resources early in the morning when we do have the opportunity to take those photos. And so there is a process for taking those photos and uploading them for the Mason Card office to approve. It does take a little bit of time for that photo to get approved. And so we really recommend doing that right away, or as soon as you're able to take your photo. There are certain requirements for what the background and kind of what the general dimensions of the picture can be. And so we do ask that you are careful about that. But being able to submit your ID photo will really save you some time during orientation and standing in line. That being said, if you're not able to take your photo or you're not sure if you're meeting those requirements, you can take the photo on campus or during orientation. Our Mason Card office is also open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day during business days, so Monday through Friday. And so if you are local and you just want to stop by campus and get that photo taken, there's no approval process since they are taking it themselves. You can go to the Mason Card office in the Sub 1 building and take that photo prior to coming to orientation if you would like as well. But if you do take it at orientation, it will take place early in the morning. They will take their photo and that will be auto approved and loaded into their Mason mobile ID as soon as it is processed by the end of the day, I believe.
Wonderful. We have some parents and guests that have attended other events at Mason, such as spotlight days or admissions events. For the family orientation specifically, how does the orientation provide new additional information that allows parents to best support their students that they might have not already seen previously?
Absolutely. So I think a lot of times at some of those spotlight days and in some of those recruitment events, there's kind of the large scale view of some of these resources. As mentioned previously, there are so many different resources on campus, online, and just in general within the George Mason community. While a lot of those pieces might have sounded familiar at Spotlight Day, at orientation, we go a little bit more into the actual steps and processes that a student needs to take in order to complete their transition to George Mason University. And so it might just be a little bit more scaled down of a view, a little bit more granular of a view for our parents, families, and guests to see. And similar for our students as well, right? So sometimes this can involve a couple more action steps that the students need to complete before they come to orientation or come to classes in the fall. And again, other opportunities to connect with our family program staff specifically, get to know a little bit more about Mason Family Connection and your support as a family member throughout your 4 years or beyond or fewer here at George Mason University. And so we do understand that some of that information might seem a little repetitive or might be something that you saw or read about or got to hear a little bit more about, but this is kind of your opportunity to view that from a different lens of an accepted and admitted and intended to enroll student who's able to ask some of those more granular questions and prepare for their transition to George Mason.
Wonderful. We have a question about clarification for the virtual advising and registration, and it is the virtual advising and registration done on Mason's campus or at the student's home?
Great question. That will be done at the student's discretion wherever they would like for that to be done. It is completely on Zoom. And so if they would like to find a quiet spot on campus, they are more than welcome to, but definitely something that you all can do at home. That is a big part of why it's also a virtual space, and so that students who are not able to make it to campus for a number of days is able to get advice and registered from the comfort of their own home or wherever they might be. I know some students have already emailed us about logging in from out of the country or being somewhere else at an internship at camp, whatever else it might be. It really allows them to do that as well as participate in virtual advising and registration.
Wonderful. Now, this is something that that will happen during orientation, but we have questions about a calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. Will they get those at orientation, but also will it be available afterwards?
Yes, and family team, feel free to jump in. There is a family calendar that is available that will be shared with you all at orientation. So every single family member coming to guest coming to orientation will receive one of those family calendars, and they will also be available online for you all to view at any point. Okay, I'm getting head nods from the family team.
Wonderful. So there are a variety of questions from registrants about on-campus versus off-campus housing, financial aid, study abroad, scholarships, student mental health support. There's a lot of amazing resources on Mason, clearly. Are there specialized times during the day that families and guests are able to access these specific resources to ask questions?
Yes. So outside of the specific presentations that they are giving, many of them will have the opportunity for you to ask some questions in the Q&A. There is some limited time for some of our presentations. And so if you do have lingering questions, there will be a dedicated time in the afternoon for our families and guests. That's called Taking Care of Business. This will be your opportunity to get to step away from the orientation program if you would like, to either take a break, to maybe catch up on some emails if you would like, or to go visit some of these offices, schedule some appointments, get to know a little bit more about these specific resources, and go visit some of these offices that might have presented earlier in the day. And then again, as we mentioned, that choose your own adventure Mason experience rotation time will also be an opportunity to get to talk to some of these resources in smaller settings.
Wonderful. In regards to virtual advising and registration, we have some parents, guests, and students who are very excited to get their registration process started, get to know what classes they'll be taking. Do students begin any of the registration process prior to meeting with their advisor during the virtual advising and registration, or are they recommended to wait and then meet with the advisor before looking at any courses?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the specific major and your specific student population. So, as we mentioned, transfer students do have the opportunity to attend some pre-orientation advising opportunities should they be available within a specific major. Some of the reasons why a specific major might have some pre-orientation advising opportunities and others might not does have a little bit to do with staffing. It also has a little bit to do with what the specific requirements are. But as far as freshman students go, their specific day for registering for courses will be on their virtual advising and registration date. That being said, many of our majors as well as our colleges will send some sort of communication as well as potential information, resources, webinars, workshops, handouts, modules that have to do with their specific major or their academic process that will all come directly from the major department or the academic college themselves. And so we do encourage our students to reach out, get to know some of those resources prior to coming to virtual advising and registration. Even if you're not able to do that, all of that information will be recapped and shared at virtual advising and registration, but it's always a great opportunity to ask those questions prior to.
Wonderful. And then we have a couple questions about parking. How is parking available for orientation registration day? And if they registered after or they're planning to walk on site and register day of, are they still able to access that free parking?
Yes, absolutely. So we will have our parking registration link in the reminder emails that get sent out to your students prior to coming to your orientation day. That will be a link in which you will register your car with your with your license plate, excuse me, not your driver's license. So with your license plate, and you select the date that you are coming to orientation, and that will cover the free parking for that day. If you are walk-in or you're not able to complete that prior to coming, we will have QR codes everywhere. We will have some Patriot leaders stationed at the parking lot with those QR codes ready for you all to scan them and input your license plate number so that you can ensure that you have free parking for the day. And that will be in lot K, and that will be our closest lot to our check-in location at Holton Plaza.
Wonderful. Is there a checklist on the orientation site to help us ensure we've completed required tasks?
Absolutely. You can view that specifically on the orientation family website. If you type in orientation, family orientation GMU to Google, that'll be the first link. And you will see a direct checklist there for all of our families coming to orientation.
Wonderful. And this will be our last question. If families and supporters cannot attend orientation, or let's say they miss a session, if they have to step out, will this information be sent to them, or how are they able to access it? Should they contact the different departments? What do you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a little bit of all, but we really recommend engaging with the Patriot Preview modules if you want to get a little bit of information about each of these different resources if you do miss an orientation session. That being said, if there is anything specific that you have more questions about after orientation or you do miss a presentation, our participants will be sent PDF versions of the presentations post-orientation. And then a lot of that information will also be available via, if you email them, or if you have any other questions, it will be available via their websites. So you are more than welcome to continue to reach out to some of these resources. They really welcome that, and you will see that at orientation if you attend, that they will give you opportunities for you to contact them as different resources on campus and be able to continue to connect with them and get to know a little bit more about what their specific resources are and how you can help and get to know them a little better.
Wonderful. That is all the questions we have for this family support series. Thank you to Jesse and the New Student Family Programs Office for all the support you provide for our Patriots and for all the work you put into orientation. I know I'm very excited to get to see orientation and to see the parents and students and see their help them see their future here at George Mason University. As a reminder, this family support series was recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel within the next 2 weeks. Thank you again and have a wonderful night.
Bye, everyone.